Welcome to a very special interview segment of We Will Not Comply. We're going to be joined by a fascinating guest today. She's known as the Patriot Barbie. That's who she is. And the name may sound familiar, but it's not the same name or the same face, a much prettier face than you're used to seeing when we do say this person's name. We're going to bring her in right now, the Patriot Barbie. You can find her at patriotbarbie.com. She's got a new book coming out called Targeted: One Mom's Fight for Life, Liberty, and the Pursuit of Happiness. And we're joined here today with the Patriot Barbie, Lindsey Graham. It's not a joke. There she is. Lindsey, how are you today?
I'm so good. How are you guys? I love
We're
the
having
build
a
up
good
to the
time.
name.
I'm sure you get that a lot because, as you know, there's that rhino senator in South Carolina who, he doesn't do your name much of.
Who hasn't found a country he's not ready to bomb yet?
Oh, well, yeah. Talk
Oh
about
my
bombing.
gosh.
Incredible. So we're really excited. We connected over at the Turning Point Amp Fest, right? It was a
Yep, we
good
did.
time.
Yeah.
And so we're happy to be talking to you a couple weeks, a month later than the event itself. So we wanted to bring you on and really hear your story. I mean, there's a lot here. You've got a very long story to tell. There's some really, really rocky details in there. First and foremost, we found out that Lindsey Graham, the cool Lindsey Graham, was one of the first business owners in the country to push back against the mandates and the lockdowns and all of the fear that was being pushed with the China virus, right? She was one of the first ones to do it right around the time that Shelley Luther did it in Dallas. So why don't you explain to our folks out here most of them are on the East Coast, Long Island, New York, North Carolina, Florida, explain to them kind of what you do, what was your business like, and what eventually compelled you to stand up and be one of the first to push back against the mandates.
Well, thank you so much for having me. That's a great question. And it is literally the story of my life now. My whole life has changed because of this decision, for the better. I will say that. But I was in Oregon, which is a very, very extreme left state in most of the metropolitan cities. I was in Salem, Oregon. And I had a 25 chair salon. So I had 25 girls working there. My husband had just opened a gym and we had 4 tanning salons. So all of those businesses, as you can imagine, were deemed non-essential. And just like everyone else in America, on March 23rd, we shut down and kind of left our businesses in the hands of the government, which is a terrible idea. Because 2 weeks to flatten the curve, as you know, turned into 4, turned into 6, turned into 2 years.
We're actually on, Lindsey, I don't mean to interrupt you, but we're actually on, today is day 679 of 15 days to slow the spread. I've been counting.
Okay, I thought it was going to be like I got to write that down. So yeah, some monumental like shutdown. So yeah, March 23rd, I'll be marking that calendar. But yeah, what a ridiculous concept. But at 2 weeks, when it was sort of like, well, one more week, and then it was like, well, one more week, I went, okay, I know BS when I hear BS, and I know that you're dangling a carrot. And ironically, you guys, I'm not very political, or I wasn't very political. And I really was just a business owner who said, I don't think so. I don't think you have the right to bankrupt my family and take away my rights for what seems to be a very dramatic flu that you're using to do these things. And so being completely unpolitical, just a business owner, I saw Shelley Luther's fight. I saw her opening up. I sat back and I said, I cannot believe no one is standing up with her and defying with her. And she's doing this by herself. And then I looked in the mirror and said, well, I'm staying closed too. So that makes me a hypocrite. So I decided to open back up May 5th of 2020. It was only 6 weeks into the lockdowns. And what followed was like the most dramatic, probably 2 weeks of my entire life, because my Democrat governor, I was probably the first business in Oregon, for sure, to open publicly. So she really wanted to make an example out of me, and she targeted me with every single state agency. And I will tell you that, the bombshell here at the end is that she sent CPS after my kids, and they did threaten to take my kids away. But before all that, before it even got to that extreme, it was because she threatened me in every other area, and I wouldn't shut down. I just kept calling their bluff. She threatened to take away my business license, my hair license. I was threatened that I'd be kicked out of my building. Class C misdemeanor, $50,000 a day citations, a $70,000 OSHA citation. and I feel like I'm missing one, but that's about the gist of it. Like, the only agency that didn't come after me was the police.
That's quite a story. I mean, you were literally targeted just for doing business.
Yeah.
And like, we've seen punitive damages, but the fact that they came after your children is what really blows my mind. I mean, for those on the East Coast, do you think Andrew Cuomo was unpopular? Everyone in Oregon hates Kate Brown, right? And we've seen the assault of we've seen the assault of journalists in Portland, like Andy No. I mean, Portland's done, right? Yep. As far as I know out here, Portland is over. So the fact that you're in the hotbed of the fight is really mind blowing. And I thank you for standing up for this and speaking out. You've been very vocal about, like the Kyle Rittenhouse situation and all the lies and all the deceit about that. But if you want, I'd love to hear more about your book, Targeted, and what exactly that goes into.
Well, I'd love to give you a little zinger that not a lot of people ask me about on podcast interviews, because it's not a really big part of my story, but you'll like it based on the Kyle Rittenhouse comment. So after I had reopened, and this is all in the book, and I had to put it in the book, I had to write a book, because after a certain point, the news wouldn't cover my story because I wasn't backing down and I wasn't complying. And so I was actually empowering more people. So they didn't want to share my story anymore. What they wanted to share was when I was being fined and cited and threatened to scare people. When I overcame, I couldn't get a newscaster to come out to my salon. So I wrote a book because after enduring all of the cancel culture that came with reopening against the mandates and fighting the state of Oregon single-handedly, BLM said they were going to burn my salon down. And I made a public call to arms. And 400 patriots showed up outside Glamour Salon with ARs and guns. And a video went viral of me holding an AR right outside Glamour Salon's door. But no one touched the downtown Salem businesses. And the chief of police, I believe it was at the time, called and said, if you hadn't done that, Salem would look like Portland. And that was a very big moment in my story, which the news didn't cover because of course, I was suddenly a racist and a white supremacist, right? And B, they didn't want to provoke any more Second Amendment right activism. And lastly, well, why wouldn't they cover it? Well, anyway, because I got cancel cultured so badly because of that, I literally moved out of Oregon. I had to close my business, all of our businesses, packed our truck. We were getting death threats at my house. I was receiving threats through the window at my salon and being called and emailed and trashed and slandered at every corner. And with CPS having an open case now against my kids, that's completely unwarranted. We found out, of course, it's from the government's office. We packed up and left Oregon and bailed. And so there's a whole book here that shows you after, the 5 days of national coverage where, the salon owner is going to defy the lockdowns, whatever. So much more has happened. And I was so non-compliant and so aggressively defiant that they did not want to share my story anymore. So the real story is all packed into a book that's, teaches people how to empower themselves and their friends to speak up and defy mandates and stand up and advocate for your rights. A lot of stuff that I was no longer given a platform for because I was, trying to be silenced.
Well, the fact is that you stood up and you didn't back down. And that's not a story that the mainstream media or that anyone really wants to get out, because it's proof that if you do stand up, you will win.
And you can win.
You can win.
It's inspiring.
Yeah, it's inspiring. That's why they never cover the people who attempt to get canceled and just say no. They only cover the people who apologize. And the fact that you didn't is
incredible.
You didn't back down. That's great.
Now let me ask you a question. Now, back in the beginning of the lockdowns, one of our favorite things to hear from all of the government officials and whatnot that was the essential versus non-essential businesses. And I would assume because you were locked down, right? Your hair salon was considered non-essential. But my favorite thing to do was to find small business owners like yourself and find out, hey, Lindsey, why did you have a hair salon? So let me ask you a series of questions, right? Did you feed your family? Were you feeding your children? Were you providing for your family through that business?
Yes, I was.
Okay. So then that business was essential, right? To you, it was essential for you to provide for your family, and the government just took that away. But at the same
Right.
time, now they're going to send, because you decided to reopen the business, right? To
Mhm.
provide for your family, to provide for your kids, because it's essential. They sent child protective services after you. I need to hear more about that. We all need to hear more about that. In the name of, I guess, public safety, right? They sent child protective services to your home for operating your business that you need to provide for your family. I need some clarity. What the heck happened there?
Well, my attorney can tell you exactly what happened. He said that when I did a press conference outside my salon and said I was going to reopen, I said, I have a right to provide for my kids. I have a right to provide for my family. And that's what I'm going to do. And it was the next day that CPS showed up. And we've got documents, we've got whistleblower documents now that show there was obviously not a cause for this visit. B, there was not a follow-up, there was not a cause for a follow-up visit. And C, there was not a cause for them to even push the concern, if you will, the quote concern, through the system. Like, it should have been dropped on its butt. But we have records showing that someone from above pushed it through, and pushed it through fast. So basically, it was, get to this house now, like as if my children were starving to death or something, you know?
Wow.
And he said that it was because I said I was doing this for my family. They knew right where to hit me. And this was because I hadn't complied with anything else they had told me. So it's like, she's not listening. She's willing to go to jail. She's willing to get fined. What can we do to really threaten her? Let's go after her family. And that was the most concerning moment. It was the one time in the whole situation that I looked at my husband and said, I don't know if I should be doing this anymore. And the whole time I had unwavering faith, unwavering boldness. I knew I was doing the right thing. I knew they didn't have the authority. My spirit just told me that. Like, I'm not smart. I'm not educated. I'm not politically driven. I wasn't overly inundated with facts or the issues at hand. My spirit said, this isn't right. And I'm standing up for myself. And the more they came at me, Charlie Kirk calls this anti-fragile. The more they tried to shut me down, the more resilient I became, because it was like, you're trying so hard. It's telling me distinctly that I'm on the side of right, because you have to threaten me this much over something I know isn't science or health, because I'm doing 5 clients and Walmart's open. And there's 500 people down there touching and licking and scratching their butts and touching stuff and buying it. Like, we've been at Walmart. People scratch their butts and then they touch stuff.
Well, look,
And
believe
here I am just trying to operate a salon. So yeah, but they did.
Sorry.
Oh, you're fine.
I was going to say, don't say you're not smart, because you wrote a book, you operated 30 businesses, so you're at least 10 times smarter than, I don't know, 400 or 500 members of Congress.
Yeah, I was saying,
So, all those people are good at is getting elected. They've never done anything productive. I mean, you're an employer. You're an actual job creator.
Yes, you create jobs. You live the American dream. Everybody wants to just work for themselves to provide for their family. You're not working for anybody but yourself. But what did I hear you correctly that said you left Oregon, right? Because there was an open case against you there?
Well, yeah, after BLM threatened to burn down my salon, we started getting death threats at our house. And oh gosh, it got to the point where I used to be a pillar in the community, like involved in all the fundraisers, running my own fundraisers for the community. It got to the point where I wouldn't even go out for like a drink with my girlfriends after work, because I really was worried that someone would try to hurt me. This is the threats that were coming in every minute of every day. And I was drawing the blinds in my house and worried that CPS was going to try to reopen a case again, because they had one already, which gives them grounds to open another one. And so we answered what I believe now was a call from God. Like, at the time, I didn't think it was. At the time, it was like, I got to get out of here. If I'm going to fight this fight, I need my kids to be safe. And I knew I was going to keep fighting this fight. So we packed our stuff and moved to Arizona, and it's very free in Arizona. And this is 100% the plan that God had for my life. I'm 100% confident that, well, when you live in faith, that's how it is. But God wanted these things to happen to me. He wanted me to be in Arizona, and he wanted me to be the Patriot Barbie and be fighting for conservative values, like as a full-time job.
Absolutely. And guys, once again, we're speaking with Lindsey Graham, the Patriot Barbie, the good Lindsey Graham.
The cool Lindsey
the
Graham.
cool Lindsey Graham.
Yes.
Not the one that was cool for about 5 minutes with Brett Kavanaugh, then went back to sucking again.
Now, American people, they don't see through his crap.
The Senate's own Blanche Dubois.
Oh, man.
The guy from A Streetcar Named Desire.
Yeah, we're dealing with a Lindsey Graham who actually knows how to fight.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Not the one who folds.
Once again, it's a Patriot Barbie. Author of the book Targeted, One Mom's Fight for Life, Liberty, and the Pursuit of Happiness. Go check that out. So what's next? Well, there you go. There you go. Plug it up. Bring it up.
Yeah, plug it up. There it is. I'm in a little American flag dress. So cute.
Absolutely. So
what's next? I love this question because I have no idea what's next. I have no idea. I am in a place where I have accepted that God had a different plan for my life than the plan that I had, which was being a salon owner for the rest of my life. I do not do hair. I do not own a salon. We don't own any businesses. We just started doing fix and flips in Arizona. We wanted to be only reliant on ourselves, not the government, not employees. And I have a radio talk show podcast here in Arizona with my co-host, Brandy Barclay. I've got the book that came out. I really feel like the book is, it's my testimony about overcoming government authority and finding much, much bigger blessings on the other side when you stand up for what's right, which is hands down what I believe my full-time job is to be advocating and fighting for what's right for my kids, for my family, for other conservatives. And I have put my whole life, when you go through something like this and everything is taken from you and you realize you can't control it. I could not control what was happening to me in the mainstream media and the narrative. I had to embrace that God had a different plan for me. And so every day I wake up and say, whatever, like people ask, are you going to run for office? I say, I would rather not, but I have no idea what God's going to call me to do. So,
oh, absolutely. We've gotten that question numerous times out here. And I'm like, I like my life.
Yeah.
I enjoy my life. I don't need to be hanging out in DC freezing to death.
That's true.
6 months out of the year.
Yes, sounds pretty miserable being in politics. So I think I'll just keep supporting the candidates that are running that I endorse and maybe just, do that, play that role.
So what type of involvement do you have in the local community out there? I mean, you're new to Arizona, I would say, and you said you want to kind of support the candidates. What's being done like in Arizona? Have you been involved at all in any of your local county politics, school board anything heating up in education? Obviously, that's a hot button issue here in New York the last week or so. And it's going to get even crazier as we get closer towards the midterms. But just give us on the East Coast, again, a little insight into how things are over on your side of the world, right? There's obviously cactuses down in Arizona. There's none of those in Long Island. But what's going on the school front and on the educational front and in your community? Because I want to see if there are any parallels in terms of the issues that you guys are facing with us.
There's a pretty big dramatic situation that's been unfolding in Scottsdale Unified School District. And if you are not from Arizona, Scottsdale is like the place to live. It's a high standard of living, a lot of, I don't want to say hoity-toity mean, but like it's hoity-toity. The houses are all beautiful. This is where things should be good, right? Everyone thinks people have money, they can buy happiness and their kids are all going to a, private school or whatever it is. But in Scottsdale Unified School District, specifically, there was a member of the board who was doxing the moms who would show up to oppose critical race theory. He had to hire a private investigator. His dad was showing up in a motorcycle helmet, taking pictures of the kids, which is very alarming, taking pictures of the moms, creating files on the families, where they go, what they do, what their jobs are, taking pictures of their license plates. And he was found out. And amazingly, he's still on the school board. They're trying to get him voted off. He was the president.
How is that possible? How is that possible?
Unbelievable.
Freaking politics. You have to jump through all the insane hoops to get the signatures to get him removed from the school board. Yeah. It's just crazy to me that you can create you can have a criminal offense on your record, right? There should be a criminal offense on his record for harassment, bullying, stalking. And yet he can remain on the board unless you go through all the political proceedings to have him removed. Isn't that not insane?
That's just, I can't believe. But this is how I think we understand. And I said this on a live stream just before we started talking, to parents are turning to us for information because, the local news isn't going to tell you straight what all these decisions mean and all that stuff. So we're kind of popping up and people are coming and we're sharing info. But this is how you know we are the good guys in this fight.
Yep.
Because when a decision doesn't go their way, they're literally putting you in harm's way to win their fight. When a decision doesn't go our way, we'll protest and then kind of fight behind the scenes to do it the right way.
Yep.
We're on the right side here. And I think you touched on it before, but I would love to hear just kind of, Kevin asked you what's next, and you told us there's this really big incident happening in Scottsdale, Arizona, and things are heating up. But have you had any problems, or have you had any successes or failures, or what are you going through reaching other small business owners or local community leaders to give them the confidence to fight and push forward against some of these unconstitutional mandates, whether they're lockdowns or vaccines or masks? Have you been involved, and what have you been doing to improve things in your community?
I've been very, very involved in Arizona's gubernatorial race candidates, especially with my radio show, because we air on 960 AM The Patriot, which is, of course, a patriotic conservative talk radio. And so we give a platform to a lot of the members of the community that have a story that needs to be heard. They're looking for help. They're looking for attorneys. They're looking for funding. We give them a platform, whereas bigger shows, they have a lot of fish to fry right now. There's a lot of bad stuff happening in the US. And I feel terrible because someone may experience a mistreatment that's a very big deal to them, and they want to get it out there and get it viral. But guess what? Something bigger is happening the next state over. Someone's kid is being forced vaxxed at school without their parents' consent. Like, there's just so much bad stuff going on. But I still relate a lot to people that message me on Instagram and email, Facebook. And I try to get those stories out there so that they feel like they have a voice. We give a lot of the conservative political candidates spots on our radio to endorse them and or get their policies out there so conservatives know who they're voting for. And the amazing problem to have in Arizona is that there are a lot of great conservative candidates. It's hard when you're trying to make a decision. It's great when we give them a chance to get all their policies out there and vet them. But it's a great problem to have as far as we don't have one Republican and one Democrat. Well, guess what? I'm voting for the Republican. We have multiples. So right now we are, we're really endorsing Carrie Lake. She's Trump endorsed, General Flynn endorsed, Mike Lindell endorsed, Patriot Barbie endorsed. And we are literally, that's coming out. Watch.
Very good.
But we're, throwing events for her, fundraising for her. My co-host and I, she's one of our biggest fundraisers. We are doing basically whatever we can. Our talents are, networking and getting ourselves out there and creating a community. We're doing that so that we can fund the right candidates, connect the right patriots, so that we are all doing business together and we're creating this network of like-minded individuals. Because one thing that I have been very diligently against is we need to stop funding the people that are trying to silence and shut us up. We need
100%.
to stop funding the Democrat left movement. We have got to make a valiant, determined, uncomfortable effort in every single business we do business with to literally say, I just need to know if you donate to any Democrat or Republican companies. When they say Democrat, you politely hang up the phone and you move on. You only do business with conservative people, and we will literally watch their party crumble. Because if we believe what we believe, which is that there's more of them, more of us than them, if we actually believe that, right, and we do, the polls are wrong, then we know that our money would work. If we took it away from them, they would fall to their death.
100% right.
100%.
It's an easy, it's an easy concept to conceptualize, right? But we talk about the prisoner's dilemma, right? The problem is getting everybody to act at once. But I think it's starting to happen. You're starting to see platforms like Getter pop up, like Rumble, like Gab. You're seeing places that are protecting free speech. You're even seeing guys like Joe Rogan, right? Who is outwardly not a conservative. But this is not to say he's not right on certain issues, but he's not a conservative. He says that, Michelle Obama would make a fine president and he likes Bernie Sanders. Fine. Again, I'm tolerant of other people, but he's at least giving the platform for free speech so that we can at least introduce into the marketplace of ideas a dissenting voice without that voice being feared of being canceled or suspended or outcast. And so we want to build that parallel economy. And I think it's so important that you stress that. And it's important here too. I say it all the time. You go into a business, they ask you to wear a mask. They're really pushing you. Turn around, walk out, don't go back. That's how you send the message.
That's
don't flip out, right?
Yeah, don't cause a scene. Don't get yourself arrested. Just go to a different bagel store.
Exactly.
Vote with your dollars.
Absolutely.
The way you voted with your feet. I mean, look, we're in New York. We lost, I don't know, half the state to Florida.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sure.
Everyone's, I feel like we're on an island out here. Everyone that could get out got out. And I feel like Oregon's probably, I mean, we've been watching Oregon for years with the burning down courthouses and all the chop up in Seattle. I mean, the Northwest is in trouble.
That's in real trouble.
I feel like we've been talking about the conspiracy geological theory that at some point California is going to like fall off into the ocean. I'm starting to think it's taking Washington and Oregon with it. Like
that whole line.
I'm starting to be okay with it.
Take that whole line right there, right?
Get out.
Right from Idaho all the way down to Nevada.
We can
so let me ask you about Kari Lake real quick, because I love these governors races. We're involved in a governor's race here too. We're big supporters of the candidate Lee Zeldin, close friend of Donald Trump's, a staunch ally in the House of Representatives for years. He's running for governor here. We're a blue state. We're trying to flip it from Kathy Hochul, who I call Andrew Cuomo in a dress, to Lee Zeldin. You're looking at taking out Doug Ducey, right? And Kari Lake is your girl. Kari Lake is the one that you're getting behind. So why don't you explain to the folks over here on the East Coast, Long Island, because they could donate to Kari Lake. They can help support. They may not be able to vote for her, but what is it about Kari Lake? The America First candidate, I would imagine. I know you're a big fan of Mike Lindell, which means to me, America First all day long, and that's the way we want it. Give me the pitch on Kari Lake, how people can support her, and why she's a better solution for Arizona than Doug Ducey.
Oh gosh, there's a lot better. So this is what I'm done with. I'm done with the people that say certain things to get into office, and then when they're in office, do the opposite. Yeah. I say what you're gonna say and stand by it, so that we can educationally choose to cast our vote for you. Don't say what we want to hear. We just outed a guy, Alex Stovall, is running for, I think it's. Did you see that? Arizona.
We off the air.
Yeah.
Well, I'll tell you something in a moment.
I'll tell you something in a minute.
We'll tell you literally when the recording is done.
This is going to be excited. That's going to be for the locals, everybody.
That's going on the premium channel. That'll be for locals.
Oh my gosh, I can't wait. And me.
Well, go ahead, continue. Please do.
That video made my day. That was the moment where I'm like, I'm clearly in politics now, because I'm, I love seeing people exposed for being fake and phony and trying to win our votes for. Anyway, so Kari Lake, my big thing, I have some really big token voting tasks, and one of them is pro-life. There's a little bit more about that in my book, if you get my gist. Very, very pro-life, very pro-freedom, obviously. I am very anti-mandates. I am pro-capitalism. What else is there? Pro-gun, very, very pro-gun. I was at the SHOT Show this last week, the biggest gun show in probably the nation. And then being America First, for sure, hands down, is the number one thing. But she's got these other little traits that are just magical. She wants to finish building Trump's wall, and she's not shy about it. She is very, very staunch in her beliefs. She's a Christian. She's, I believe, found faith pretty recently. And she believes that this is, God's calling on her life is to run for governor. And so, there's pretty much nothing about Kari Lake that I'm not a massive fan of. And if I saw any red flags, it'd be something that would be awesome, because I know I could actually address it with her. But as far as, Republicans go, I guess she's your classic Republican, but she's not going to be a rhino, because she speaks very openly and outwardly about specific policies, as opposed to the general, like, oh, I'm a Republican, vote for me.
Absolutely. And if Donald Trump were here, I'm sure he would have phenomenal things to say about future Governor Lake. Luckily, we have our own Donald Trump right here.
Here he comes. So we want to talk about Kari Lake, and I rallied in Arizona about a week and a half ago, and it was a great time. 50,000 people, and they wouldn't turn the cameras when you think about it. They would not show the full crowd, and Kari came up. She did a fantastic job, and she's going to do a fantastic job for the entire state of Arizona because of hardworking, highly respected American patriots like the Patriot Barbie, Lindsey Graham. Believe me, we like this Lindsey Graham, okay? Not like the other one. We like this Lindsey Graham a lot. She's fantastic, believe me. She didn't know what to do. What just happened?
You want to hear the most amazing story ever?
Yeah, sure.
I was texting everyone your video where you were walking through and going, the shelves are bare. The shelves are bare. I had no idea that was you.
Yeah.
Hi.
No idea.
Bear
I was
Shells
sending
Barbie.
that video to all my friends. I'm like, listen to this guy. He sounds just like Donald Trump. And you just pulled that thing and did it. And my brain just clicked. And your viewers can pause the moment I realized.
Yes,
I saw your face.
Yeah.
I saw the whole thing going, oh my goodness, what is he doing? That's insane. Well, that's good stuff. It was been
It's
great
so
talking to you.
good.
Lindsay. We loved
It's so
having
good.
you.
You know what I'm going to do? We're going
What's
to have
that?
you on my radio show. And
Let's
we're
do
going to
it.
say that you're Donald Trump. And no one will know any different.
We could play games. That's fine with me.
It's always fun.
Let's make it happen.
That was beautiful.
Thank you. Thank you. Beautiful. That's one of my favorite words. Okay. Beautiful and fantastic. It's a great word to say. Could you stress it? Fantastic. It's a great thing.
I just can't. It's so good. It's so
Thank you,
good.
Lindsay.
I'm gonna
Appreciate it.
I'm gonna have you call me and leave me a voicemail. Lindsey Graham, the Patriot. Obviously, I can't do it. Lindsey Graham, the Patriot Barbie. I just want to tell you, you've got a huge personality and all the stuff. And I'm gonna show
we'll
people.
play around
And,
with
oh
it.
my gosh,
Write,
President Trump called
write
me.
down what you want me to say, and we could do it. No problem.
Definitely.
Done.
All right.
Oh, this is like the highlight of my day.
Well, thank you, Lindsay.
All righty, guys. Once again, this is the Patriot Barbie, Lindsey Graham, author of the book Targeted: One Mom's Fight for Life, Liberty, and the Pursuit of Happiness. Lindsey Graham, thank you for joining us on We Will Not Comply.
Those are the four
We
words
will not
say
comply. Thank you.
We say it. The four words that we say over and over and over again until the people in power either get it or get the hell out of our way are.
That's right.
We will not comply.
Will not comply.
Beautiful. We love it. Thank you,
I'm with
Lindsay.
you. Thank
Check
you
her out.
guys so much.
PatriotBarbie.com. Lindsey Graham. Absolutely fantastic. We will catch you later.